I actually really like Carolina. Like Lenovo Center is so cool. I was
This
there
guy's
for
been to like
game.
every NHL game,
Yeah, I've
Oh,
been to
every
I've
arena.
been to I've been to 27 NHL arenas.
that is
Um,
awesome.
and I was at Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Final last year in Carolina. And it's a
Man,
dope place.
it just gets so loud in there, and the energy is unlike any other sporting event I've been to. Like it's
I
so
like how
loud.
it's so organic, like the fans start going crazy with their towels and the energy picks up. I remember seeing like dust fall from the rafters when it was just because of the noise, like the building was shaking so much. It was insane.
I do got a question though, because
So
Yeah,
you are
man.
the other. Oh, sorry, my fault. You are the other Vegas fan here. Is like, how does it compare to T-Mobile's atmosphere at its peak? Because I went to Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Final. I don't think I've ever heard that building louder than any other building I've been to. How does that compare to Carolina or any other building in the NHL?
yeah, Game 5 was crazy, right? Like I was there too. It was probably one of the best days of my life, if not the best day of my life.
Shared
Um,
opinion.
yeah, yeah. Um, I don't know. Like Vegas, it's very like it's tough to say it's fabricated because it's not. But like when you go to these smaller towns, right? Take Carolina for example, right? People in the Triangle are good people. Like downtown Raleigh is not the Las Vegas Strip. The restaurants in North Carolina aren't Gordon Ramsay next to the Bellagio or
The
whatever.
barbecue.
Um, yeah, yeah, good barbecue places everywhere in North Carolina. I forget what I tried, but there was something in downtown. It was incredible. But like with that, like everywhere I've been, there's just like a certain organic kind of vibe, right? Where it's these fans, they're so diehard about their team because it might be all they have, right? Like especially some of these smaller Canadian towns or smaller towns in general, like to them that represents everything. And to me, the Golden Knights represent everything about Las Vegas to me and the people who care about me. But in terms of atmosphere, like Vegas is incredible, but sometimes just like the make some noise garb kind of gets old and you kind of want
Yeah,
something a little more, right?
yeah, I was gonna say because like I love like because like I'm gonna be honest with you, the atmosphere was so great early on when the team was like barely starting out, but now it's like kind of like as it's gone on, seasons have passed. We're almost at the 10th year of the Golden Knights, which is crazy just to think about it. And then you know people who wanted to see a Knights game probably have already. So now it's just guys who have extra money. It's starting to become what locals aren't going because they've already seen a game. But I still think Vegas at least is a top half atmosphere in the playoffs. I Vegas
It's still
fans
a
in the
top
playoffs are
atmosphere.
great.
It's still a
Yeah.
top atmosphere, no doubt. I just think like I mean, think about it. The first time you see on the big screen make some noise, you're going to be like, yeah, let's go. But then by the 10th year of them just saying make some noise, it's kind of just why are we making noise to make noise? It's and in the playoffs
Yeah.
that could be really good, right? Like, dude, I remember Game 5, 2018 against San Jose. I was at
Oh,
that game and it was
that was
one
my
of the
first playoff game. That was my first
yeah,
playoff game.
it was mine too, and it was one of the
That's so
loudest
cool.
atmospheres, one of the best buildings. Like the towels were so intimidating, just like a sea of white towels, and the building was shaking. And we haven't really felt as much of that. But again, I think it's just because like I think people are kind of tired of the make some noise garb. They want more sustenance, right? Like they want they want the team to kind of care more about them and the city. And so
Yeah.
I think like it kind of feels soulless in that way sometimes. Again, I love it, but it's not it's not like going to a Tampa game. Like Tampa, I went to game 6 of the Eastern Conference Final in 2022, and that building was so loud. It was so cool. They have like a little hall of fame of like all their star players, and in the upper concourse, they got plaques of like former players. T-Mobile Arena doesn't have any of that. Like I would kill to have just a
Oh
little
man.
plaque that says like James Neal, year one scored 26 goals or however much he scored and was awesome. Just like to honor the past. And I think fans really appreciate that effort for like a kind of like a museum of history as we enter year 10.
Listen to the Coast to Coast podcast for the first time for the playoffs. This is we record this on Discord. Like this is a first time for all of us.
Like in the
Yeah,
hang of it.
yeah, but
But
you go ahead.
when
You
it
go ahead.
has that kind of inorganic feel, like do you feel like it's almost becoming kind of like a touristy attraction, like a lot of Vegas?
Yeah. And it's sad, right? Like Vegas used to kind of have sustenance. It used to have like a really cool vibe to it. Like people, it's kind of like the American dream almost. Like, you know, you have a break and you save up enough money from wherever you are. And what do you do with that money? You come to Las Vegas, baby, and you gamble away and you get a cheap meal and you enjoy yourself, right? And for the Golden Knights, like for me, this is like my life, you know, like I love this team to death. I love this city. I'm so proud to be born and raised here. But it's just like, come on guys, like the marketing team, like it's not just about the tourists, right? Like there's like 2.5 million people who live in the Vegas Valley. It's a huge city. Like there's people who care about this team and who make it a priority in their life. Like give us a little bit of like history. And I understand that the team itself a little more cutthroat, right? Like trading Marc-Andre Fleury, doing all the stuff that they've done, and fans have hated those moves. But like give back a little bit, you know. Why don't we have a Marc-Andre Fleury night next season? You know, he retired last year. Why don't we honor him with the night? We don't have to retire his number, but have a Marc-Andre Fleury night, have an Alec Martinez night where they just get up and talk about their experiences in Vegas and what it meant to them. That would mean so much to the
Absolutely.
fans.
Don't do a Max Pacioretty night. Do not do a Max Pacioretty night.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people like Max anymore.
Oh, I
It's
don't
just
like him either. There is a whole lots of wrong with it, but that's a topic for another day. Well, because I'm a Tampa Bay Rays fan, and the Tropicana Field just opened for the first time in about 2 years after it got destroyed by a hurricane, and they have like this like it was like a generic Rays player going out there. It's like a statue that's put onto the side of one of the walls of the concourse. Like if you could put Aiden Hill's like paddle save up top somewhere, or like Marc-Andre Fleury's diving glove save against the Leafs, I think that would do a lot in terms of, getting some stuff around the concourse because like you said, it's very bare bones, and that's I think one of the worst parts about the game day experience about as a Golden Knights fan. Like I love going to a Knights game every time. Even when they lose. The last game I went to was the 2-0 shutout to the Buffalo Sabres, but I just want us to see more from the just the concourse experience.
yeah, it's very just corporate kind of whatever. Whereas, like, even I remember when I was a kid, I used to go to LA Dodgers games a lot, and on the pillars of the concourse, they'd have like posters of old Dodgers, you know, all time greats, and they'd have current players. Like back then, it was Russell Martin and Andre Ethier and all these guys that I grew up with. Like, why can't you know go down to your section and have like a Jack Eichel or just like a photo from year one of like Belmar, Nosek, and Reeves, you know, game one of the Stanley Cup final in 2018. Like just have a little bit more atmospheric and make that special, right? Like fans eat that up. They see that and they get hype. Like, oh wow, we're about to watch this team that has done that. We're about to, you know, part of it for me also is the banners, man. Like
Oh.
the Golden Knights banners, they hang them on the wall, and from some parts of the arena, you can't even really see them.
Speaking of banners, I think it's time to go into this whole playoffs thing. We'll see you right after the intro. Welcome back to the Coast to Coast podcast. And today we have a very, very special episode for you guys today. I am joined by my co-host, the wonderful Donnie Waddy over here to my, is that my left or my right in real life, my left on screen? Because this is our first time we're doing cameras, by the way, in this episode. And joining us today for this special podcast is a friend. His name is you got you. I think you have someone else joining you, and I think I saw a tail wag on that door behind you.
We
Joining
jump
us
in.
today, joining us today, we also have a good friend of mine. Today is a, I think you got another visitor.
Yeah, no, bro, they're playing a game right now or something back there. You might see them in the background.
They're welcome to join the podcast. Okay, but long story short, This is Ben Bolin, good friend of mine, loves to talk puck, loves the Golden Knights, and just loves the game in general. He's here to go within on us all on all the playoff drama, all the series that have been confirmed that have been confirmed so far. Um, we wanted to do this when all the series were set. Doesn't look like that's not going to be the case because we're recording right now. But yeah, no, we're just going to go through each team and then whatever series have been confirmed and then potential series. I'm excited, you guys. The playoffs are right around the corner. Oh, it just gets me all tingly inside just thinking about this is what we've been waiting for, and we kind of got a taste from that from the Olympics, but now we're getting. Oh, it's going to be a bloodbath, and I hope you guys are buckled in for this one. What do you guys think?
This is going to be, I think, one of the better playoffs in recent memory, just because it is so wide open. The last couple of years, it's been the same teams. It's been Florida, Edmonton, two finals in a row. It's been Dallas going to the conference finals. It's been Carolina getting swept in the conference finals, whatever. This year, anything could happen. I would say there's probably 11 or 12 teams I could realistically see walking out with the Stanley Cup. And that's
That's crazy.
so much higher than usual. And, I don't want to give Gary Bettman any credit, but the parity right now is going.
Yeah, it kind of feels like there hasn't been much parity in the last few years, right? Like we've seen the best team in the Eastern Conference make the Stanley Cup final, and we've seen the best team in the Western Conference make the Stanley Cup final. Obviously, you can go back to some upsets and some crazy series and some really unbelievable games, right? Last year, Game 7, Winnipeg versus St. Louis. That was insane. There's been some crazy games, but it's kind of felt a little dissatisfying just because when we get to the dance, when we get to the Stanley Cup final, it's just been the same two teams, right? And I don't think anybody really likes Edmonton. I don't think really anybody likes Florida. I don't mean to crap on those teams like that, but it's just, yeah, like we kind of want to see an underdog, or we want to see an upset, or we want to see something cool happen, and we want a cooler storyline. So it's looking like we're going to get it. Florida is eliminated from playoff contention. Edmonton has some tougher battles to get to the dance this year. Like I think we're going to see two different teams in the Stanley Cup final this year, and that means something. That's big for the league, and that's big for the fans.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
just going off, I mean, what's something that everyone's looking forward to this playoffs? You guys can go first. I'll finish off with my top storyline from the playoffs heading into it.
I would say just the cities that we're gonna get playoff atmospheres in again. I mean, obviously Buffalo is gonna be an unreal environment, especially if they're able to play the first wild card. Montreal's crowd is always hot. Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, they're going to see playoffs for the first time in a while. There's so much going on, but I would say the number one is just going to be the intensity of these road games, because more and more you're seeing that these teams like absolutely hate each other, and fans are going to get more into it. So I would just say overall the road environment, even in Utah, like I'm excited to see what that's like.
Yeah, Salt Lake City is awesome, man. Like the Utah Mammoth fans, the crowd, it's such a loud barn. It's built for basketball, right? The Delta Center is just a generic 90s arena built for the Jazz. It's very compact. I've seen a lot of games there over the last couple seasons, and dude, it's all concrete, so the sound just bounces right off the ceiling and right back at you. It is
Wow.
one of the loudest barns I've ever been in, and I'm excited to see what it's like for the playoffs. It's electric. To your point, I mean, Anaheim hasn't seen the playoffs in 8 years. There's a couple other teams in there that they just haven't gotten a taste of playoff hockey, and so it's just there's a lot of unexpected runs being taken in this regular season that's going to make the playoffs all that more exciting. And I can't wait, man. Like it's going to be one of those playoffs where you're going to want to tune into as many games as you can.
Yeah, for me, I mean, just looking at, I have the current bracket as it stands right now. This may change by the time of the playoffs. A couple matchups are already set. We'll get into those later, but who boy, like just looking at these matchups, like you have some heavy hitters. I know like the playoff format has been a hot topic of like discussion recently, but we'll savor that for another time. But I'm just looking at that Dallas Minnesota series, that Battle of Pennsylvania, Montreal, Tampa. Like there's some really good series. Even Edmonton, Edmonton Anaheim. That's a rematch from a couple years ago. That's gonna be electric too. Just looking at all these series, I'm just excited just to watch the best hockey that we possibly could since the Olympics. And not like playing for the team on your crest isn't the same as playing for your country, but at the same time, when Lord Stanley's the prize that you get for winning 60 games, I feel like these guys are just ready to just go crazy for it, and I'm excited. It's my favorite time of the year, sports wise. NBA. I kind of like the NBA too because my Thunder are doing good right now, but that's we're not a basketball podcast, we're a hockey podcast, so we're just gonna keep
The
that
Charlotte
to the
Hornets are going to
size.
make the playoffs.
That play in tonight, they play the Hornets, but I digress. So we're just going to talk about some of the series that we have confirmed already, because um, the playoffs are not set. Like this bracket is not set yet, just yet. I feel like the East is a little bit more set. The West, there's only one series confirmed, guys. Like that tells you how awesome the West has been this season. But we're gonna start in the East. We're gonna start off with the Battle of Pennsylvania. The Pittsburgh Penguins will host the Philadelphia Flyers in Game One. They have home ice advantage. What do you guys think so far? Who do you think is gonna win that series?
Oh man, it's tough to pick a winner. Just because these two teams have kind of come out of nowhere this season, right? I think
Yeah.
Rick Tocchet has done wonders with the Flyers. Dan Muse has been an awesome pickup as a head coach for Pittsburgh. It's the battle of Permani sandwiches, man. Pennsylvania is awesome, and those fans are rowdy, dude. They're crazy. I've seen games at both rinks, and they're both pretty electric barns. And dude, Flyers fans are passionate. It's a little. I'm going to take Pittsburgh. Like if we had to put a number on it and stamp it in right now, I'm going to say Pittsburgh in 6. I think the Flyers have a little bit of an underrated advantage just because they've gotten their scoring depth. They found a way to put together some wins and get some points. But I think overall, when you look at Pittsburgh, man, Erik Karlsson has had a very underrated season. They've gotten awesome seasons out of guys like Crosby, despite the injuries. Malkin's doing good. Anthony Mantha, what the heck, dude? He is a point per game player this season
Couldn't
in 2
couldn't do
years.
that for Vegas, eh?
Yeah, he
Couldn't do that for
couldn't do it for
Vegas,
the Knights,
Anthony.
but he's
Wasted
doing it
wasted
for
a
Dan
second
Muse.
round pick on you, eh?
Yeah, like he's doing it for Dan Muse, not Bruce Cassidy, I guess. So, um,
Would he
I
do it for
I really like.
Tortorella? Would he do it for Torts?
Yeah, I don't know if he could do it under Tortorella. But I don't know. I'm going to take Pittsburgh on this. I think Pittsburgh has had a very good season, and I think it just makes sense for them to go on to the second round.
I'm gonna agree with you. I think
Yeah,
Pittsburgh in
and
6. Oh, okay. Okay. You can edit that out, Ian. But I'm gonna say Pittsburgh in 6 as well. I feel like a lot of people are underrating the Flyers because to get to the playoffs you have to be a good team, and the Flyers are a good team. But however, I just think Pittsburgh has more experience. I will say, Pittsburgh probably a little bit overrated in my opinion. They're probably having like some insane PDO this year. I don't know. I haven't checked advanced stats, but I do think Pittsburgh is gonna wipe the floor with Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia will steal a couple games, but I agree Philadelphia is gonna go out in 6 games to the hands of the Pittsburgh Penguins. What about you, Ian?
yeah, not to be boring, but I'm also going to go with Penguins. I'll say they push it to a game 7.
Ooh,
Because I the Flyers showed me last night that they are a scrappy group. Because the Flyers, of course, beat the Hurricanes to clinch their playoff spot. They were down 2-0 early, could have just given up, and they didn't. They kept fighting. Um, you guys mentioned the depth scoring on that team. To play devil's advocate, I think they have a better chance than a lot of people are giving them credit for. Like this is the type of team where they're so hot to end the season. Nobody saw them coming. They weren't even in a playoff spot like 3 weeks ago. You never know. The Penguins are a great team, though. I believe that Kyle Dubas is doing a pretty good job building up that team. After all, he gave up a few bad contracts, but the Stuart Skinner for Tristan Jarry trade might go down as one of the best moves in Penguins history already. even if Stewart
Yeah.
leaves this year. Like just getting Jari off the books after 10 good games was incredible work. Um, so yeah, we'll go Pittsburgh in 7, and it's not going to be an easy one.
I
So
also think I
oh,
also
go
just
on.
think that Philly kind of I like Dan Muse as a coach, right? I think that he's an incredible coach. He's done wonders for the Penguins, but I think Rick Tocchet's one of the more underrated coaches in the league. He's really turned around the careers of a lot of guys in Philadelphia, including a guy like Zegras, who came over from Anaheim. Zegras hits new career highs. He's looking like a number one center. Like, I really like Tocchet as a coach, and I think that Tocchet's going to have the advantage here a little bit. They're going to get the edge when it comes to the coaching.
I kind of see that. I mean, was it Dan Muse like a an assistant hire? Was he an assistant hire?
I think that's right. He was
Yeah, I think
assistant
so.
Yeah.
on another
One of the
team.
one of the one of the rare assistant hires that you'll see in the NHL, but I think that might be something to look out for. Rick Tocchet, he got a division winning season out of the Canucks. I don't think the Canucks have won a division in a while before that season. So if he can get that, it would not shock me if Philadelphia pulled up the offset or the upset, not the offset. But I'm excited to see what happens. But yeah, Penguins in 6. I feel like that's kind of the consensus. But yeah, I mean Penguins in 7 or 6. I'm not doing the other way around. I'm sorry to all my Gen Alpha listeners who want to do but okay, we move on.
You
To
just
we're
did it,
moving
so I'm
on.
proving that. That's getting clipped.
We are moving on to the next series of the Eastern Conference that has been confirmed: the Tampa Bay Lightning versus the Montreal Canadiens. Of course, that matchup got confirmed after Buffalo won the division last night in Chicago with a score of 5-1. And I don't know if you saw, just going on the Buffalo Sabres real quick. I don't know if you saw their Twitter admin, but they were going through everyone's receipts today on Twitter. What a
What a
that's
run.
yeah. I I genuinely hope that Buffalo fans, you kind of savor this moment because this could be the start of something special, or it could be a 2024 Canucks moment and they just fall flat on their face next season. But I hope that's not the case because I love watching the Buffalo Sabres, finally, after so many years of pain and misery, just finally get the opportunity to root for something good. But I digress. Tampa Bay, Montreal. I feel like if this is Tampa's year to finally get a last like cup run with the core that they have, that's this year. You're not playing the Panthers. You're not playing your heated rival. You're not playing. You're playing the Montreal Canadiens, who I think they're an interesting team. They could outscore you. The only issue is I don't think in a goaltending duel they could outduel Andre Vasilevsky, which is why I'm gonna give the edge to Tampa Bay. I actually will give I'll say Tampa Bay in 7. I feel like that's a decent I feel like Montreal could outscore uh their way to winning some games, but I feel like Tampa Bay will just win in the end, and I feel like it's going to be a 7 gamer, way more interesting series than the 2021 Stanley Cup Final. But but hey, it's you got to do what you got to do, and I say Tampa in 7. What about you, Ben?
Yeah, I'm going to go Tampa in 7. I think that Martin St. Louis is a great coach. He's done a great job with the young core that the Canadians have. Cole Caulfield, 50 goals. Like he's an incredible player. They have some incredible talent. I think Nick Suzuki hit 100 points. Still pains me a little bit that we got rid of him. Um,
It is
but
what it is at the end, though.
yeah, I'm going to take Tampa in 7 simply because I think that it's probably going to come down to the goaltending, right? When you have Andre Vasilevsky between the pipes, one of the greatest goalies in NHL history, versus a guy like Jakub Dobeš or Sam Montembeault, I think you automatically have an advantage, right? And
Yeah,
don't get me wrong, Montreal's got some studs, but Tampa, I think they've done it right. They have that east-west movement with a guy like Nikita Kucherov. They also have some depth grit, acquiring Corey Perry at the deadline. Like they have some very good players. Darren Radish coming out of nowhere to complement Victor Hedman's, number one defenseman prowess. Like the team looks very good, and I can't see them beating a team like Montreal at this, or losing to a team like Montreal at this time.
Yeah, I'd go Lightning in 6. As good as Montreal is, the number one point, of course, is the goaltending, like you guys mentioned. There's no way Dobish is going to be able to be enough to beat somebody like Vasilevsky. Also, Noah Dobson's going to be out for a bit,
Oh, that's
and
huge.
defensively, I don't know how many options they have back there. Like you're going to end up having to throw Reinbacker into a situation like that. Montreal, if they can get past Tampa, I do like their chances on going on a little run because they are underratedly deep, especially with Philip Deneau back in the fold. But I think Tampa's just too high octane. They're not going to be able to handle it.
Yeah, I could be honest, that's probably one of the more interesting, more underrated series of the playoffs because I think, they've met a few times before. Tampa, when Tampa was on the rise as like a mini dynasty. I don't, is that really like a term, mini dynasty? Is like they won just two cups, mini dynasty?
I just call it a dynasty. I know people say like you need to have 3 championships in a row for to be a dynasty. I disagree.
I
Like
don't, I think 3 and 5 years is kind of like a dynasty, honestly. I feel like that's a
I'd say
more
even if you go
relaxed.
back to
I mean,
back, like that's a good
that's
dynasty.
it's really hard to do that in hockey too. It's like you can't expect, teams to just go back to back and build super dynasties, especially with how the cap works. But
And plus, they went
yeah,
back to the finals too.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's another thing. And they were in the finals a few years before, and then the conference finals not too long after. So I don't know. Like there've been some dominant teams, but just not many like true dynasties. But I think in terms of hockey, I think two in a row is kind of a decent dynasty.
Yeah.
But looking at the East, we'll go back to we'll give like a full preview of all the other teams in the East. Lastly, we're gonna talk about the probably the best series in the entire bracket. We're talking Dallas versus Minnesota. How about you get us started, Ian? You tell us who you think's gonna win.
As much as I like, my heart is I am truly rooting for Minnesota. I'm truly rooting for Quinn Hughes to go off, have another fantastic playoffs like he did in 2024. I'm gonna go Dallas Stars in seven. They're too well built of a team. They're gonna get all of their guys back. They're not gonna have any injuries. They had a couple forwards out last season. They've got it. Dallas Stars in seven. Um, they are going to gear up for that heavyweight matchup with Colorado. I think not to spoil the LA series for anybody. I just don't know if Minnesota has enough, especially at the center position, to match up with Colorado because they are deep. You have McKinnon, Kadri, and then either Ross Colton or Jack Drury. Pick your poison there as well. And yeah, the Wild just aren't going to be able to get it done, unfortunately.
Hmm. It's tough to make a pick with this one just because I feel like they're two very similar teams, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I think that I always go back to the coach just because I think coaching matters. I like Glenn Gulletson, Las Vegas Wranglers legend, coach in Vegas for a while at the ECHL. Gulletson been a good coach. The Stars have been a good team this year. I kind of thought, like everybody else, that they'd have a rough year. Firing Pete DeBoer, losing some of their depth, re-signing Nico Rantanen. It's a lot to take in. But I'm going to say Dallas in six. I'm not proud of saying that. I don't want Dallas to win, but I'm going to say Dallas in six just because I think that they have the depth. They're very well rounded. They're getting some performances out of younger guys. Wyatt Johnston is incredible, incredible. I still don't think Johnston's talked about enough around the league. And I just think they have an advantage in almost every single category. Maybe hold the defense because the Wild do have Brock Faber and Quinn Hughes.
All right. I think it's time we finally have our first opposing opinion on today because I'm taking the Minnesota Wild in 7 games. I think this is the year for Minnesota to make it out of the first round. Um, I really like what Minnesota has. I think Dallas is also a really well built team. However, I just feel like some of the guys on Dallas, they may be a bit tired from going all the way to the conference finals back to back years. And then I think Minnesota is a team that's just going to have that hunger to go out and potentially spoil Dallas's party. It feels like Colorado Dallas is a destiny in the second round. I don't think so. I feel like this is the year for the Minnesota Wild to finally established themselves as at least as a team that to at least be taken seriously, in my opinion. I don't know. I have a me and Ian have a good. Oh, am I? Can I say that?
Yeah, no, no, no. Yeah, if they listen far enough now, they got
Yeah, yeah, no. But me and Ian have a friend who's a dear friend to us, Minnesota Wild fan. You know who you are. You know who you are. But dear friend to us, Minnesota Wild fan. I've gave him a lot of crap after losing to the Knights twice in the first round in the past 5 years. But I feel like this is Minnesota's year, and I'm really rooting for the Minnesota Wild to go and cause some chaos because I feel like Dallas having home ice might be a bit of a disadvantage. Minnesota, I've heard Minnesota's a pretty decent road team, maybe a bit better, or maybe that's just the biased Wild fans talking to me. But Will, I'm gonna go against you guys. I'm gonna take Wild in seven. I feel like that's my first the first in fact I think that's our only upset pick or not upset like colliding pick of the day is that I'm picking Minnesota, rest is picking Dallas, so we all just kind of pick, Tampa Bay or Pittsburgh to move on to their series. But yeah,
it. Yeah.
Minnesota in seven. Who wants to argue with me?
I mean, the series itself is kind of a coin flip, so I can't really argue it, right? I mean, we've seen some stuff in the NHL where it looks like it's going to be a close series, and then it's a sweep in four, right? And I'm not saying that
Yeah.
Minnesota or Dallas are going to sweep one another, but it's going to be an interesting series to watch. I think that the goaltending matters. I think if Ottinger's hot at the right time, if Gustafson gets hot at the right time, if the Wild struggle at their goaltending and they go to Wallstedt, like there's a lot of little things that can happen in a series, and I'm excited to watch it. It's going to be cinema.
Yeah, that's must watch TV. That's must watch.
Yeah, I just want to root for something. I have a little bit of bias. I have a lot of friends in Minnesota, a lot of Minnesota Wild friends, and I would like to see them beat the Dallas Stars because I don't like the Dallas Stars either. And I think we all don't
No.
kind of like the Dallas Stars for our own reasons.
I would like Mikko Rantanen to not make it past the first round. That would be good. That would be
A good answer.
Yeah, all right. So now that we've gotten through the nitty-gritty of like all the confirmed series, let's go through some of the teams that, have because all the teams have clinched a playoff spot. We don't have all the series yet. So, we're going to start off with we're going to be boring. We're going to start off with the Colorado Avalanche here. And I just think the Colorado Avalanche, whoever they're going to get in the first round, they might look at as dinner. However, I I had this feeling when Florida played Boston in 2023. I don't know. I'm kind of feeling the same feeling again. Maybe that's just me being trigger happy, but I kind of feel like
good.
the LA Kings could cause some noise if they played them in the playoffs. It's not confirmed, but that's the current matchup. They would play the LA Kings because I feel like you have Panarin, Byfield, Kopitar on his last run. Um, I think Drew Doughty still got some movement in him. Like they got Brant Clark. Brant Clark is a guy I've been high on for a while. Um, I don't know. I still feel like Colorado would win in a 5 game series. I think LA steals a game in a hypothetical matchup, but I don't know. I'm kind of getting that feeling like okay, LA might be on like another. What was the year they went the eighth seed and won the whole thing? Was that 2012? I think that was
Yeah.
2012.
Yeah.
2012.
Yeah, yeah, 2012. I feel like they could be on another 2012 type run soon, but I heard that in 2018 when they played the Golden Knights, and you know what happened there, Ben.
Yep.
Yeah, that's my thoughts on the Avalanche. What about you guys?
I respect where you're coming from, because to me, they remind me a lot of the 2022 Florida Panthers, where like they were the best team, but it was just because they were able to outscore the fuck out of everybody. When
Yeah,
once games get tighter, I've seen what Martin H just does in the playoffs. Like they're not as tough as
yeah,
they have been in past years. So I could see a team like Utah or Los Angeles like giving them a really good fight, similar to what Washington did to Florida that year. They kind of gave them a scare in the first round, and that led to Florida losing all their confidence, getting destroyed by Tampa. You never know. The Avs have been so far ahead of the pack for so long, it might end up catching up. Um, if everything goes right, they should tenderize whoever they play. But if it happens to be Utah, I could see that series potentially going the way of maybe the 2023 Kraken series,
Ooh.
where Utah just does not give up.
We'll get back to Utah later because I'm honestly, I I share this opinion with Ben. I would be scared if I was playing against the Utah Mammoth, but we'll get back to them later.
I have a
Ben, what are your
lot to
thoughts on
say
the
about Utah.
Avalanche?
Um, I have a lot to say about Utah. But Colorado, I think that there's more holes in that team than people realize, right? Like you look at the names on the paper, it's a very deep team. I think they had a very good deadline. They're getting the goaltending, they get the defense. They got their top six, they got their number one center, they got their number one D. They have all the cogs to win a cup, but there's still some holes. Their power play has sucked all season long. Like I have a lot of my Avalanche friends telling me, like, dude, I'm kind of concerned. Like it's an incredible season. They're gonna win the President's Trophy. I think they already have actually. Did they not clinch the
Yeah,
President's
yeah, they
Trophy?
do.
Yeah, I
They do,
think they
yeah.
did. But there's been some lulls throughout the season. It sounds crazy, but they bros through it, bros breezed, whatever the word is. They breezed their way past New Year's with like two regulation losses. And then
That's
from
unheard
there, it's
of.
been, yeah. And then since New Year's, it's been more greatly average. Like they're still great, but it's more just, nah. Like there's been teams that have been better than them in that
They
stretch. A
lost
lot of teams, I
they
think,
lost
actually.
to the Canucks and gave up 8 goals to them. That's I
Yeah.
think I'd be concerned. I'd be concerned if I
It's
was
I
an
think it's
Avalanche
kind
fan.
of I think it's kind of too easy to look at Colorado and be like, oh well, they won the President's Trophy. They have McKinnon, they have McCarr, they have all these guys. Like, yeah, they're gonna go to the final and win the cup. I think it's too easy. I don't know if it's a first round exit. I don't know if it's a second round exit. I don't know what's gonna happen. Nobody does. That's why we're all here. But it's just, yeah, there's some concerns with the team, man. I don't know if I'm picking them for the cup.
Yeah, no, I think I definitely like what you guys have said. I just feel like Colorado might be due for a wake-up call, and if it's not the first round, it's definitely against the next round against Minnesota or Dallas. So there's that. Um, we're gonna go on to you already know who we're going on to. We're staying on the West. We're going local. The Vegas Golden Knights. I have I'm I'm in love with what John Tortorella has done with the team, which is barely anything, except play a lot more of Carter Hart. I was a critic of the signing in the first place, and I was a critic when he was first playing because he was not good. But you will not catch me saying he has not been the best goalie for the Golden Knights since he got back from injury. Let me pull up some stats for you guys. So let's see. Um, just got flashbanged. Holy, you probably can see it on the screen, but
Yeah.
in his last few games that he's played, he has his lowest save above or save percentage. His lowest save percentage in the 5 games he's played since he's coming back has been 8.864. His second lowest 0.909, and that was against the Vancouver Canucks. He has been a plus 0.900 in his last four and has saved more than 30 shots in 2 games since then. And
Wow.
I know I know the controversy with Carter Hart. I know
Oh, wow.
um
What happened?
that's a topic for another time. But I will not say that he has been kind of been a stabling point for the Golden Knights. Um, and I think, he's probably going to be the goalie going into the playoffs. And I think you kind of want a goalie that's playing the hot hand heading into the playoffs. Not saying that, Aiden Hill can't capture that 2023 magic again, but I don't know. I think I would probably start Carter Hart game one of the playoffs, whoever, no matter who you playing. But I think Vegas, they look a better team. Jack Eichel has had a 4-point night last night and a game-winning goal to clinch the playoffs in Colorado. Pavel's starting to score. Mark Stone's been scoring. You're getting more offensive production from the blue line. You're getting fantastic goaltending. There's really not much I can complain about the Golden Knights right now, except for the fact that Tomas Hertl has kind of taken a nosedive in production this season, and I don't think it's entirely his fault. I will say because ever since they started playing Mitch Marner at center, which I'm getting used to it at this point. It still bewilders me, but I'm getting used to it at this point. But I don't think playing uh Tomas Hurdle with guys that are more bottom six grind guys. I don't like I think in theory it's a decent idea, but I don't really like that for a more offensive or offensive minded center in Tomas Hurdle. That's more of like a William Karlsson role, but they don't have William Karlsson right now. So I don't think it's all Hurdle's fault. I'm kind of concerned about Hurdle, but hopefully this last game tomorrow against the Kraken, he can get maybe a couple goals, maybe just some points, get into a scoring mode before the playoffs start. That's what I think. What about you, Ben?
Um, well, the coaching change, I think, definitely took the league by surprise, right? Like what, 7 games
Yeah.
left, or there's 8 games left at the time of the firing, and it was crazy. With that, though, when John Tortorella took control of the Golden Knights, he said it in multiple press conferences that he wanted his emphasis to be on playing north-south and deactivation. And so far, we've seen perfect examples of that. The team has been playing much more north. They've been getting pucks in deep. They've been trying to just transition up the ice quicker. It seems like Tortorella has really been relying on Rasmus Anderson, and Anderson has been awesome since the coaching change. Um,
He's
I
making me
think a
eat
lot
my
of
words. He's making me
yeah,
eat my words.
yeah, me too. A lot of fans were very critical of Anderson. I think it was fair, right? He came in here with the super high expectation. There were some, some people said that he was going to be kind of like the next Petrangelo, and I don't think Anderson's a Petrangelo, but he is a great player, and he's kind of fit into that role very well, right? He makes a good first pass. He can jump in on the rush, and I think when they made the coaching change, my emotions got the best of me, and I was very emotional over the firing of Bruce Cassidy. But the fact of the matter is, they brought in a coach who loves to activate the defenseman. So when the D is on the blue line, they'll pinch down low, and Tortorella really emphasizes that he wants his D to play freely in the offensive zone. So Anderson, he plays below the hash marks in the offensive zone a lot, just because he's able to jump into the play and get the puck and try to produce something towards the net. We saw it last night. He scored a snipe of a goal just because he pinched down low, got a pass from Mark Stone, and roofed it. It was an awesome goal, right? Like, I think under Bruce Cassidy, you might have not been seeing those plays a lot just because he's a little more of a conservative coach. I don't really know where the message went lost. We'll never really know about those conversations that happen between players and management and coaches and whatnot. But the fact of the matter is, since the coaching change, this team is going north way more than they were. They're emphasizing quick transition, which is something that we haven't seen all season long. It's complemented players like Riley Smith, Brandon Saad, Cole Smith, Nick Dowd, Keegan Colasar, etc. better than it was under Cassidy before. And overall, I feel way more confident about this team heading into the playoffs than I did just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, and I just kind of feel like, especially for those guys, losing Bruce Cassidy, I still think Bruce Cassidy, he's going to get a job sooner rather than later. I'm surprised he didn't get hired by the Islanders when they fired
Yeah,
Marty St. Louis. No, no, not Marty St. Louis. Patrick Waugh, that's what I'm thinking of. That they when they fired Patrick Waugh. And I'm surprised they hired Pete DeBoer. Okay.
that was so random and
Yeah,
still missed the playoffs.
on Easter Sunday too, which is crazy. It's crazy, but yeah, no, Bruce Cassidy's gonna get a job soon, but I just feel like it kind of gave the team like a breath of fresh air, especially because like they've been on a even going into like before the Cassidy fire, you had two tough overtime losses against the Oilers and the Capitals. You put in Bruce Cassidy, go into the next game against arguably a very winnable game against the Canucks. Start Aiden Hill, and they looked okay. I mean, I didn't really see too much of a difference except, more emphasis on offensive defensemen. I think that's going to really benefit guys going into the playoffs like Shea Theodore. Shea Theodore might be, producing more. You already said Rasmus Anderson, Braden McNabb. I think Braden
The GOAT.
McNabb has like low key. He has a very low key nasty toe drag. I don't know if you have seen any Braden McNabb goals, but it's like he had one against Tampa where he just drags it and just roofed it over. I think Vasilevsky. Yeah, no,
Yep.
that was he has some. He's a stay at home defensive defenseman, but I would be like he's got some skill. on offense. I think we might see a little bit more Brain McNabb goals in the playoffs, but no, that was just I think, it's kind of breathed life back into the Golden Knights and would if Cassidy was still on still on the roster or not the staff, I don't think Vegas is in a playoff spot. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I think Vegas might be fighting for that last wild card spot still. But, you know, the past is the past. I'm always going to be thankful for 2023 Bruce Cassidy. Um, but I'm not the general manager. I can't keep you around. Kelly McCrimmon is the GM. It's going to be interesting this offseason. I feel like there's some massive changes coming to the Golden Knights, but that's not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about the playoffs, and I think round one, round one's interesting because right now they're currently projected to play the Mammoth, and I think that's their biggest you want to avoid the Mammoth if you're the Golden Knights, and I know Ben will tap on this soon, but I feel like the Golden Knights have a better chance against everyone in the Pacific Division and not the Utah Mammoth. I feel like they could beat the Kings, even though they're a bit hot. They could beat the Oilers. They could beat the Ducks. I don't think they could beat the Mammoth. And as much as I want to believe that they could, and as much newfound confidence that John Tortorella has breathed into the Golden Knights and the fan base and all that, I don't think they could beat the Mammoth. I think the Mammoth are too fast. They're too skilled. Even when they played the Knights earlier before the firing of John Tortor or of Bruce Cassidy, not John Tortorella, they got smoked like 4-0 against Utah, and I feel like it could be I still think Vegas could win a series, but it would be very very tough for them.
Yeah, I think that when it comes to Vegas versus Utah, Vegas has struggled against high octane offense all season long. They've struggled against teams that play east west. They struggle against teams that make it tough to move the puck in transition. They've struggled against teams who can score off the rush. And I think Utah personifies that. Utah's a good team. They're young, they're fast, they got good depth scoring. Um, and I'm very nervous to see if it's actually Vegas versus Utah. I'm nervous because the Golden Knights don't play very well against those high octane teams.
I would take the Mammoth in six. Like if we did our full predictions, man. Like I'm also kind of partial. I love Utah. I love the way that they play. It's almost kind of old school. Like it's simple hockey, but it's effective. And I just don't. I haven't watched. I have not watched enough Golden Knights games to know this for a fact. But it seems like they don't defend on the rush as well as they should. And I feel like Utah could burn them alive on that.
I think
Yeah,
I think Vegas would have a good chance, but like cautiously optimistically, I want to avoid playing Utah as much as I can. And we could get more into Utah, but like for the Golden Knights, I think heading into the playoffs, they've gotten the goaltending. Carter Hart's been awesome. They have the defense. They've gotten some more depth scoring. Riley Smith, who was kind of cold to start off the season, has been good under John Tortorella. There's been some guys who have stepped up when they needed it to. So I guess the question is, can they continue to play this way when the games get tight, when the games get tougher? Can they play against high octane offense? Can they play against teams that go east west? It's all questions that need to be answered.
I know the game against Colorado. I think the game against Colorado is kind of like a testament to that. I know Colorado already had the President's Trophy wrapped up by that game, but I still think I'll think that I'll take that game as like a showing side that they could probably because they still iced McKinnon, they still iced Natchez. The Colorado Avalanche were pretty healthy, minus Cale Makar going into that game. I still think Utah is their toughest challenge, and I do think if Utah loses one of their next two, and then LA wins out, I think it would actually be Vegas versus LA if Vegas were to win the Pacific Division, which I think is a better matchup for Vegas. I think all the other teams in the Pacific that have made it are a better matchup for Vegas, but I just
Yeah.
don't. I still think Vegas could beat Utah in a series. It's not only that, but I think they also just it's more the experience. Utah doesn't have that Stanley Cup experience that Vegas does with the guys remaining on the roster. Even Mitch Marner hasn't won a lot of playoff rounds, but he's gotten past the first round a couple times, and that's still huge. Like he knows how to at least win a round. And you put him with guys like Jack Eichel, Mark Stone, Shea Theodore, Braden McNabb, Aiden Hill, even. Those are guys that have won the cup. Brett Howden, Keegan Colasar too. Colton Sissons went to the final in 2017. Uh, I still think experience is huge in today's NHL, and that's why I still think that I'd give Vegas in 7 if that was the matchup against Utah, but I would not be shocked if Utah was to pull out a first round upset of the potential Pacific Division champions as of today.
Yeah, and we can kind of segue into Utah if you want.
No, go ahead. Yeah, we can go ahead in Utah.
Yeah.
You go ahead, man. You've been to Utah before multiple times.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of Mammoth games this year. Obviously, I'm a Knights fan, but I'm up in Utah going to school, so it's dude, Utah. I don't think they're talked enough around the league, honestly. They've had some blips, they've had some stretches where they can't play very well, but um, like I don't even know where to start in terms of where they're underrated. I don't think Karel Vejmelka's talked about enough. I don't think John Marino is talked about enough. He's on a pair with Nate Schmidt. I don't think Nate Schmidt's been talked about enough. They've gotten some depth scoring out of guys like Kyler Yamamoto, who's looked really good for them. They have some concerns as well. A guy like Brandon Tanev, who they brought in to kind of be their depth scorer, has 2 points this season, and he's statistically been the worst player in the NHL this season. Um, but overall, like Keller as your number one wing, with Nick Schmaltz, who, by the way, just signed an extension in Utah. Nick Schmaltz has been awesome. You got Dylan Gunther, who has one of the nastiest shots in the NHL. You have Logan Cooley, who's another number one center potentially, who's only, 21 years old, very young and up and coming. They have Mikhail Sergachev, who's won multiple cups before and has been to the dance a lot. They have Dmitry Simashev, who probably won't even get a playoff game if Marino is healthy. Marino's out right now, but if Marino's healthy, Simashev might not even get a playoff game, and he's been good. They play a very east-west style where they enter the zone and they just move the puck. They just move the puck. They move it to the center. They get shots from the slot. They feed Dylan Gunther on his right-hand shot, and Gunther has one of the best releases in the league. Like, they are a scary team. And to complement it, they got Mackenzie Weegar at the deadline, who's been solid. He's been solid for Utah. I think it's not out of the realm to say that the Mammoth have the best D-core in the NHL. Like they have a number one center in Mikhail Sergachev. They have John Marino, who I think leads the NHL in plus minus or is like way up there. He's unbelievable. Like John Marino is insane. Yeah, like
Plus
John Marino is
39.
insane. Nate Schmidt's been really good. Like they're getting big games out of players that they need to. And I'm nervous to play Utah in the playoffs. I've said it again. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Like Utah is a good team.
Yeah, I think Utah would be a better matchup for Colorado. I think Utah could give Colorado some hell. I also think Utah could give any team in the West hell. I mean, Edmonton, they could give them hell. I think they could give Dallas or Minnesota hell. I think Utah's really underrated, which sucks because this really could have been the Coyotes. Think about this: we could have had playoff games at the Mullet Arena if Gary Bettman didn't step in. That would have been insane. Could you imagine NHL playoff games on a college campus? Holy butt!
5,000 person NHL playoff game.
That
It
would have
would
been
have
something.
never
But
happened. Like the
yeah, no,
league
they
would have to
probably
step in or something.
yeah they probably would have played in the Suns
Yeah, that'd be
arena.
embarrassing.
But just the idea of it
Even
is
then, like
interesting.
even then, if the team never got sold, they wouldn't have bought Mikhail Sergachev. They wouldn't have gone out and got the players that they did.
Yeah,
And honestly, like I know it's kind of a controversial topic because people do get nostalgic for the Coyotes. I mean, I get nostalgic for
me
the Coyotes,
me I get
but
nostalgic for the Coyotes.
Utah, the NHL in Utah has been so good for the league, and it's been so good for all those players. It's a great place to live, great people. Like I'm again, I keep saying it. I don't want Vegas to play them because they're high octane. They're a good team. It's a tough barn to play in. but I'm very excited for the people of Salt Lake City to get their taste of NHL playoff action. It's a
It's
great
gonna
city.
be
It's a
it's
great
gonna be
barn, great
excited.
venue. It's going to be rocking. That whole city, the whole state is going to be rocking.
All right, we got
Uh,
the Edmonton Oilers now. And Ian, what do you think about the Edmonton Oilers this season?
you know, it's it's probably not the best use of Connor McDavid's prime. I will say, having him play on this team, like just looking at their score sheet right now, outside of McDavid and Draisaitl, they don't have much. Hyman has had a really good season. You know, Nugent Hopkins has decent production, but he gets so bare after that. I mean, it's gonna have to be what it was in 2022 and 2023, where it's pretty much just McDavid and Dry dragging the team, you know, even on one leg through these rounds.
And just to add on
Somehow their
that,
goaltending
Draisaitl.
got
Sorry, just to interrupt you, but Draisaitl might not even play the first few games.
yeah. I mean, it's not a definite thing that he'll be back for game one, which that would put them behind the eight ball very quickly. We can get more into Anaheim later. I'm kind of selling my Duck stock. I don't believe in them as much. I still think Edmonton would get the job done,
Yeah,
but it's looking shaky. They need a big off season to kind of retool this team and get it more into a shape for a contender.
Yeah, they don't get the goaltending. They haven't gotten the depth. If you go back the last 2 years, they've gotten some good playoffs out of guys like Adam Henrique, like Matthias Janmark, like Corey Perry. And Henrique's been terrible this season. Janmark's out for the year. Perry's off in Tampa now. They don't have the depth. They re-signed Trent Frederick to this 8-year deal, and Frederick statistically, I think, has been the second worst player in the NHL behind Brandon Tanev. So it's like they haven't gotten any depth scoring. They're very top heavy and reliant on their most highest paid players. I don't see this team going back to the Stanley Cup final. I can't see them beating a team like Colorado or Minnesota or Dallas or maybe even Vegas, and we can get into that. But I don't see Edmonton as a serious contender. And it's tough to say because they've been to back-to-back finals, but I really can't see their luck not drying up this year.
I said
Yeah.
this at the beginning of the season. I didn't think Edmonton was making it back to the finals. It's hard to make it back to back to back, let alone back to back. And not only that, you lost the first one, you lost the second one in equally heartbreaking fashion because you had that series tied heading into game five and you just melt. That's that's pathetic, honestly. Couldn't beat my
Yeah.
Golden Knight. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, no, it's gonna be hard for Edmonton. Draisaitl's gonna be out for a couple games. I think they'll probably beat the Ducks, but I think they get waxed by Vegas or Utah, whoever they play in the next round. It's not even funny. Like, and it sucks because I kind like as much as I don't like rooting against McDavid because McDavid's a great player. You want to see him succeed. I just think he probably. I wonder what's going to happen because he signed that extension for what another 2 years, and I think it's at a smaller cap
Yeah.
hit too. I don't know what you got to do for if you're Edmonton, you still have Draisaitl. You locked him up long term. There's going to be a lot more questions surrounding Edmonton, I think, than Toronto. No, there's going to be lots of questions surrounding Toronto, but Edmonton, they're gonna get a lot of questions asked about them. Obviously, trading for Tristan Jarry's backfired immensely on them. I just there's so many questions about Edmonton, and I don't think we're gonna get the answers for a while, to be honest with you. But they're a team that maybe will win around.
Darnell Nurse have the worst contract in the league.
I I I don't disagree. I don't disagree. But yeah, Edmonton is a hockey team. That's all I'll say.
One of the teams of
Speaking
all
of
time.
another, speaking of another team of all time, the Anaheim Ducks. Um, I don't know what to say about the Ducks other than you better end the season strong. You better end the season strong for the Anaheim Ducks because what if you because they were leading the division at one point, I believe. The Ducks were leading the division and they just kind of crashed back down to Earth, which has happened recent seasons, but not to the point where they
Yeah.
made the playoffs while crashing. And I think it's nice that they made the playoffs. Actually, now that I think about it, Joel Quenneville probably could outcoach the Edmonton Oilers. I could see that happening, but right now you got to get some wins if you're the Anaheim Ducks, especially these last
That's
couple
possible.
games. Yeah.
Yeah, that was going to be my point. Is Joel Quenneville, I think, is one of the better coaches in NHL history, and he's turned the entire franchise around. They're getting the performances out of their young stars, right? Cutter Gauthier has scored 40 goals this season. Beckett Seneca has been a monster this season. He's at 60 points. They've gotten scoring out of their older acquisitions. Jacob Trouba has been awesome. Chris Kreider, while not who he was, is still a very good player. They've gotten the performances, and Lucas Dostal has been awesome too. It's been a season for the Ducks. It's been a very successful season. If you take into account that they haven't made the playoffs in the last 8 seasons, or yeah, 8 years since 2018, it's a very successful season on paper. Now let's see what they can do when the games get tough, when their younger players have to step up, when the games are tight, and they're playing guys who have been there before. I'm very curious to see what the team does come playoff time.
I will say this, there's a really big chunk of like young teams and in these playoffs, even like teams that have like probably missed a year, they've changed a lot since they've been back to the playoffs. We'll get a lot more into the East than the West, although you have you have your usual suspects in the West. I kind of feel like the West doesn't really change all that much every year, except for the Mammoth and Ducks. I kind of feel like it's almost a lock that at least Colorado, Dallas,
Yeah.
Minnesota, probably a bit more recently, but Vegas, definitely Edmonton. Those are like four or five teams that are almost in the playoffs every year, and then you throw in a couple new guys like LA, and then you get to the East where it's like almost a crapshoot. But and then rounding off the West teams for this bracket, worst transition I ever did of all time. We have the Dallas Stars, who honestly I kind of feel like they're kind of in the same boat as the Anaheim Ducks in terms of how they're finishing their season. Not in terms of overall season, but they're kind of falling flat on their faces. They did get a big win against Minnesota to pretty much claim home ice against them, but I don't know. I just Glenn Gulletson, he's not Peter DeBoer, that's all I'll say. But I don't know. I kind of feel like John Hines, as much as there's a certain Minnesota Wild fan that doesn't really like John Hines all that much, but John Hines, he kind of I think he's going to take that Olympic experience, and I think he could take Minnesota over the top. We're kind of just back to who's winning Dallas versus Minnesota, but going back to Dallas, I still think they have the better roster on paper. I think they're pretty much almost equal in terms of talent. I still give that to Dallas though, but yeah, I think Dallas is a solid team, and I think they could go on a run this playoffs, which I hope they don't because I'm a Dallas Stars hater. You know me. I don't like the Dallas Stars. I have a lot of qualms I have about the Dallas Stars. Other than the jerseys, they're going to be wearing the 99 jersey, which I think that's the only redeeming quality about the Dallas Stars. Other than that,
Are they
nah.
really? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
they are. Yeah, no, they're going to do the Dallas like the that's the only positive about the Dallas Stars in the playoffs. Those jerseys are in the rotation. Those are sick jerseys.
Yeah, I'd agree. Um, they, I like what you said earlier when you mentioned how they might be tired from going on so many deeper runs in the playoffs. Like you look at it, Rantanen was slowing down a little bit this year. Duchesne's not been as effective. Um, Jamie Benn and Tyler Sagan having pretty weak seasons by their standards at this point.
Tyler
Uh,
Seguin's been like hurt for the entire year.
yeah, yeah. 27 games played, 17 points, which isn't awful, but They really need their young talent to step up. If Wyatt Johnson and Maverick Bork aren't leading the way on this one, they probably don't have a chance to go as far.
Yeah.
Yeah, their depth is it's okay, right? Like they've gotten some performances out of guys like Justin Ritzkovian, and again, I just don't see Dallas as class of the league, right? Like this is a season where you're going to have a winner who didn't win last year. It's a season where it's we're going to have some upsets. We're going to have some interesting situations going on here. Personally, it sounds crazy. I look at a team like Utah or a team like Buffalo, and I look at some of these underdog teams, and I think, man, they kind of have more of a shot to make it than I think Dallas would. I don't know what it is. Their style of play seems like it's going to dry up come playoff time once again, and it just I'm not super confident. Like you said, I'm still selling all my star stock.
And then to finally round up the Western teams before we move on to the East, we'll take a quick break before them. But before that, we have the Minnesota Wild. I feel like the Minnesota Wild are very underrated. They started the season kind of hot. They were up there competing with Dallas and Colorado for that top division spot. And then you make that big trade. You get Quinn Hughes, and that kind of puts some hope back into the organization. And then you make some moves at the deadline, bolster your bottom six. Minnesota's pretty underrated. I feel like they could at least get to the conference final this year. Maybe second round, but I feel like conference final might be the goal for Minnesota this year, and I wouldn't be shocked if they did that. I wouldn't be shocked if they went all the way to the Stanley Cup final, maybe put the state of hockey back on the map. But you know, they have a tough task in Dallas, but I feel like they're up for that task. But yeah, that's all I have to say about the Wild.
Yeah, Minnesota's a good team. I just don't know if I'm sold on them yet, right? Like they have some very, very talented players. It's no question. You go down the list of names on the paper, they're stacked. But I'm just not sold on John Hines, the coach. I'm not sold on their playoff ability. They've tended to dry up in the last few years when they've made the playoffs. I just I'm not sold that they're going to be the team to go as far as maybe some other people think.
Yeah. And, shout out Bill Guerin for buying in the way he did. Getting Quinn Hughes on that team was a wonderful move. It made them that much better, that much more dynamic. But I don't know, man. It's a tough road ahead for them. Dallas is a challenge in itself, but having to play Colorado right after, and then I just don't see that team having enough depth and having enough guys that are going to get through all 4 rounds, especially maybe even 2 rounds. I hope they prove me wrong though, because that's an electric crowd, and that's a state that really deserves to be good at hockey. I feel like the NHL would be better if the Minnesota Wild were more of a threat year in and year out.
I know that Vegas has had their run-ins with the Wild over the years, especially recently, last season, and then you had that COVID year. But I don't know. I just don't really find it hard to hate the Minnesota Wild as much as I thought I do. Maybe because I've been to a couple games in Minnesota. That barn's pretty good. I actually really like because I don't know if you heard. I don't know if you've been to I know Ben's been up to the upper level, but the upper level it's all like cushioned seats. Some of the rows have like railings, so like when you're absolutely like blasted out of your mind, you can just kind of just go ahead and just watch the game like that. It's really neat. But yeah, I want to root for Minnesota just because I think Dallas, I don't want to see Dallas in the next round. But yeah, Minnesota, I'm rooting for them. I hope they're kind of like a team I'm gonna LARP, honestly, if none of my teams are making it past a certain point. But we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna dive down to all the Eastern Conference teams, and then we're gonna pick our Stanley Cup winner.
Carolina Hurricanes have a fantastic opportunity. Probably their best chance of this window to potentially go all the way. They've clinched the Eastern Conference for the first time since 2006. Right now, they're projected to play the Senators, but that could change if the Senators win and the Bruins lose. Or no, sorry, other way around. If the Senators lose and the Bruins win, then that'll flip around. Um, I'm more excited for this playoff run than I usually am. Last year, going into it, you kind of expected a conference finals appearance just because of the field they had in front of them. This year, it might be a little bit tougher having to go through the winner of the Battle of Pennsylvania. But I like this team so much just because of the depth. They set a franchise record for most goals by a team in the season in the franchise history. Sebastian Aho, Svechnikov, Jarvis are all clicking as the top line. Ehlers has basically made us a top nine, which we usually don't have. Usually it's just the top six, and we have a couple of depth pieces come in. Ehlers is dynamic, and I think he's going to be huge in the playoffs because he's going to get matched up against people on a way lower tier. And, you know, his playoff numbers historically are not the greatest, but I think that'll change. Overall, yeah, I think whoever they play in the first round will probably give them a good fight, whether it's Boston or Ottawa. Personally, I'm more scared of Ottawa just because they kind of play a similar style to us. They're very much a control the puck type of team. But I would take the Hurricanes in 5 over Boston and Hurricanes in 6 over Ottawa. I'd probably take them over the winner of Pittsburgh, Philadelphia automatically as well. Their real challenge is going to be the conference finals. And if they don't make the conference finals, that's just a choke in of itself. Overall, I have a lot of belief in this team this year. Goaltending is the only thing that's a little scary. Bussy's slowed down a lot. Anderson's old. Kochekov hasn't played this season. So whoever gets hot is going to take the net. It looks like Frederick Anderson might actually start in game one. That seems to be the way that Rod is leaning. Personally, I'd rather go Bussy, but we'll see.
I do just want to interrupt you real
And
quick.
yeah, as long as we can get like, not,
While you were talking about Nikolai Ehlers, he just scored to I don't know if I just spoiled. He
that's what I'm
scored.
saying.
Yeah, he's 26th of the year.
I was on a different tab. I didn't even see it. Yeah, no, but like he's been great. You got 20 goals out of him. You got 20 goals out of Jordan Stahl this year. 36-year-old defensive center Jordan Stahl had 20 goals. This is the year. That's the sign.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I'm looking at Carolina's depth, and I really like their team down the lineup, right? They got guys like Logan Stankoven. They have guys like William Carrier, um, Mark Jankowski. Like they get some good performances out of their depth. Um, even a guy like Taylor Hall, a little older, he's still putting up points. He's still producing. Like I really like Carolina's chances. You know, I was at Game 5 last year when they were eliminated by Florida of the Eastern Conference Finals, and I really saw and I heard from fans around me that there was a level of hope that yeah, it was another disappointing end of the season, but that if they can kind of carry into next year and keep building and go get a big off-season acquisition, which they did in Nikolai Ehlers, then they could have a really good shot. Florida's out of the picture this year. The cup might be Carolina's for the taking this season.
I've told Ian this so many times since we started the podcast. If there was a year Carolina was going to win at least one cup in this window, I feel like this is pretty much the year. I like how Carolina matches up with almost every team in the Eastern Conference. I like them against Buffalo. I like them against Boston. I like them against Montreal. I like them against Ottawa, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. The only real question I have is Tampa. And even then, I think they could take Tampa to the brink. It's just, I feel like this is the year that Carolina is probably going to win the cup. And that's why. I'm not going to say it, but I feel like Carolina's probably going to win the cup, in my opinion, this year. I just feel like this is their year to win the cup. And I'll get more to that when we make our finals predictions, but I just feel like Carolina's going to win the cup.
The Canes have a mix of like youth and experience too, right? Like they have a guy like Alexander Nikishin who came in last year in the playoffs and was huge. He's had a great season. Like I said, I already mentioned Stankoven. I'll go back to him because I love
he's the best.
Stankoven as a player. He's been really good this year. Like they have a mix of experience with guys like Taylor Hall and Jordan Stahl, some guys who are kind of in the middle of the pack like Sebastian Aho and Nikolai Ehlers, and then they got some young guys. Like I think they're one of the most balanced teams in the league, and I think come playoff time, it's going to look really good for them.
Completely agree. And it is one of those things too, where and you know maybe I'm already making excuses in my head. Even if they don't win this year, like they're gonna be back. This entire core is locked up for the next 8 years. And they if they want to be the next Florida Panthers, they want to be the next Tampa Bay Lightning. It's got to start this year. They got to just go ahead and win one.
Facts. All right. Let's go to the team that I think that they'll have the most trouble against, the Tampa Bay Lightning. I kind of have a soft spot for Tampa Bay. I have family in Tampa Bay, or not near Tampa Bay, but they live near Tampa. I've been to a couple Rays games in Tampa. I actually stopped by Amalie. It's not called Amalie Arena anymore. It's called Benchmark or something like that.
That's
But
stupid.
yeah, Amalie Arena. Never been, but it looks a decent arena. I want to go there sometime. Maybe catch a game. But yeah, no, I think Tampa. This might be the last year they could do it with that core: Kucherov, Braden Point, Hedman, Vasilevsky. Like that's been kind of been that core since they won all the cups and been to multiple finals, and I feel like this might be their last hurrah to do it while at least Kucherov is still there because I don't know if how old is Kucherov? Is he like what, like 30 something? 36
He might
years
be
old?
like 32. Yeah,
32.
32?
32.
I
32.
overshot that. My fault.
Yeah, he's
Okay,
pretty young
30.
actually.
Yeah, I still think this might be the last year for Tampa to do it, and this might be the year Tampa wins their last cup with that core. But who knows? Um, I like what Andre Vasilevsky kind of had like a pretty couple down years recently, but he's been back to what we usually expect from Andre Vasilevsky. I think that's going to be huge because whenever the Hurricanes lose in the playoffs is because they got goalied to hell. They got goalied to hell and back. And I think
Oh,
if you're going to beat Carolina, you need fantastic goaltending. And I think Tampa Bay has fantastic goaltending. I think Tampa Bay might have the best goaltending in the playoffs, at least in terms of one guy who's probably going to be starting all the games, and that's going to be Andre Vasilevsky. I just think Tampa Bay might be the team that can challenge the Carolina Hurricanes. That's all I'm trying to say.
and I agree. Like the usually when the Hurricanes do lose, it's a combination of getting goalied and also getting beat up and just being physically outmatched. And I think Tampa is the only team that could convincingly do that against the Hurricanes this year. Maybe Buffalo. Buffalo's pretty tough, but Tampa Bay is just so deep, and they have, in my opinion, probably the heart winner in Nikita Kucherov as well as Vasilevsky, who put up a Vezina caliber season. Maybe not the winner, but they're gonna be tough out, especially for whoever has to face them in the first round, second round. But yeah, they're the team I'm most scared to play in the conference finals, personally, as a Canes fan.
I don't think people really understand or grasp how good Nikita Kucherov is. Nikita Kucherov has 130 points in 75 games. For Nikita Kucherov, offense is automatic. So I think as long as they have Kuch and as long as they have some of their complementing players, like Jake Gensel's had a great season too. That's kind of gone under the radar.
There's a
A guy
reason.
like Brandon Hagel has been awesome for Tampa. Like
Sorry, go ahead. Go
what?
ahead. Go ahead, Ben.
Oh,
Go ahead,
no
Ben.
way.
Sorry. I was
No,
gonna.
you're
I was
good.
gonna. No, I just. There's a reason why I have a Kucherov jersey.
Yeah.
It's also a. It's a 2021
Who?
Finals jersey because I was hate watching. I was hate watching.
Well, they smoked him in five, so no worries there.
Successful hate watch.
Um,
But go ahead, Ben. Sorry to
they
interrupt you.
also Tampa has also gotten an unbelievable season out of Darren Radish. Where did Darren Radish come from, dude? Like he is
Breakout
so
season
good.
at 30.
He's so good. He's so fun to watch. Like came out of nowhere and just took the world by storm. I think Tampa's a fun team to watch. I think that they're going to be interesting come playoff times. It would not shock me if this team won the cup. Like I hate saying it because I just kind of pumped Carolina's tires, but it wouldn't shock me at all. They got a lot of experience. They got a guy like Mac Truck, Ryan McDonough on the blue line. They have they got Corey Perry now. Like they have some good depth. They have some good players that it wouldn't shock me if this team ended up being the best team in hockey this year come Stanley Cup playoff time.
I totally agree, and I think that's probably going to be Eastern Conference Final unless Buffalo beats Tampa to hell and back, which is certainly possible. But I think that's likely the Eastern Conference Final. You have Tampa Bay and Carolina with Carolina home ice advantage. I think that's going to be a fun series. That's going to be a
Give it
fantastic
to me.
series to watch.
Give it to me.
Um, let's go to a team that not a lot of people had making the playoffs at the beginning of the season, but when you have a guy who many considers is one of the greatest hockey players of the 2000s and early to late 2010s, Sidney Crosby, I don't think it's really a shock that he's back in the playoffs. To be honest with you, but Pittsburgh Penguins, they've been on a tear this season. I kind of still think they're a bit overrated in my opinion, but I'm happy to see Sidney Crosby back in the playoffs. I think that playoff hockey in general, is better with the Penguins in the playoffs, and I think this is, in my opinion, this is the last hurrah for Sidney Crosby. I know I've been slamming the Penguins. I slammed the Penguins twice, saying they're overrated, but go ahead and prove me wrong. Win a cup with Sidney Crosby. Get Crosby another cup, like his what, fourth cup? Get him his fourth cup. Put some shit in my mouth. Make me eat it. Um, yeah, no, the Penguins. I think this could be a fluke year. This could be a cup year. I don't know. Just having the Penguins back in the playoffs. I know a lot of people don't like the Penguins, especially the Flyers fans. We'll get to you guys later, but the Penguins. I'm just excited to have the Penguins back in the playoffs. That's just me. I love seeing Pittsburgh back in the playoffs.
Shout out Ben Kindle, 18-year-old, 19-year-old, came out of absolutely nowhere. And he reminds me a lot of a young Jake Gensel coming into that lineup and just instantly clicking. He's kind of, you guys ever seen the tweet about Mark Donk and Buzz Flippett?
I think I
You know
have.
what I'm talking about?
I think I have.
It's another Mark Donk situation. Like he just came out of nowhere. Mantha is a Buzz Flippett for sure, and I I think they're actually dangerous. Like it makes me think too. Like maybe they weren't that bad these last few years. Maybe they were just really playing and really regressing. But they're completely back, and I have confidence that they'll win at least one playoff round.
I
I
just
hope
have to
they
say
win.
real quick. But I just said before Ben goes and gives his thoughts on the Penguins. Shout out Stuart Skinner. I mean, he had it rough. He had it rough in Edmonton. I'm kind of glad to see he's kind of found a home in Pittsburgh. He may not stay there, but I'm glad he's kind of found his place because he was. I knew there was a good goalie there in Stuart Skinner, and I've kind of ragged on him a bit at times too, but I'm kind of glad it's because like Stuart Skinner, he could be a good goalie in the NHL, and I'm glad to see he's doing that for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I when I think of the Penguins this season, honestly, my mind goes to Crosby, Malkin, Letang, the big three, but it also goes to Erik Karlsson. I think that Erik Karlsson had one of the more underrated seasons in the NHL this year. He's kind of, I can't really say Karlsson has returned to form because when Karlsson was at his peak, he was the best defenseman in the world, not even a question. But Erik Karlsson has been so valuable to that team. You go back to when Ron Hextall led the Penguins and made a bunch of moves that did not pan out, like trading for Mikael Granlund at the 2023 deadline and just other certain moves that Hextall made. Jeff Carter was around, and I remember Penguins fans hated Jeff Carter before he eventually hung him up. Um, like the entire complexion of the team has changed in the 4 years, 3 years that they've missed the playoffs, right? Up until now. Now it's depth. They got a guy like Ben Kindle who's coming in on an entry level deal and putting up the points. They got a guy like Anthony Mantha who's on a cheap deal but is unbelievable. Like Anthony Mantha is crazy good. You got good defense with a guy like Ryan Shea. Brian Rust is having a really good season. Evgeny Malkin, while not what he was, he's still a very impactful, very valuable player. Ricard Raquel having another great season. Like, there's a lot of reasons to believe that this Pittsburgh team could go on a deep run. And I don't know if I'm completely sold on them yet. I really like Dan Muse as a head coach. We'll see what he does with the team in the playoffs. But I'm really excited. You can also look at a guy like Tommy Novak. Tommy Novak has had a great season. Um, so I guess when it comes to Pittsburgh, it's just let's see, right? And you can say that for a lot of the playoff teams that we've talked about. Okay, you've done it in the regular season. You guys look awesome. let's see what you can do when the games get tighter, when there's more adrenaline, it's more amped up. I'm really excited to see what this young Pittsburgh Penguins team can do with the mix of Stanley Cup champion, Hall of Fame veterans, and young guys like 18-year-old Ben Kindle.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I was texting someone real quick. The Penguins have speed, the Penguins have skill, and they have youth. Not like they did have in the previous seasons. Like the last time they made the playoffs, they lost in seven to the Rangers. I feel like this team could easily win at least two rounds and maybe make it to a conference final. I I just think, what are you doing, Ian?
I'm digging in my bag. Sorry, ignore me.
You're good.
Some,
Yeah,
I
no, I
made
feel like
some notes earlier.
I feel like Pittsburgh has a good chance to go on a decent run this year.
Um, the one thing I have to say about Pittsburgh is definitely their goalies. I'm not too sold on their goalies. Skinner and Seelovs both have an 888 save percentage, so they haven't gotten the goalie performance as well as they want to. Um, but all in all, like I'm very confident about that team. Like they can win a round, and then we'll see. Right, it's the Stanley Cup playoffs. You never know. They'll probably end up beating Philly, I think. And we'll see where they go from there.
And speaking of the Flyers, I know we kind of touched on them a little bit, but I mean, just to reiterate, that's a young, gritty team, and that they're going to give them a really good fight. Like I've not always trusted Danny Briere and what his vision is, but it's starting to come together now. Like they're kind of just like a ragtag group. Um, I've really loved watching Trevor Zegras elevate his game to being a two-way center. Even Mitchkov is starting to heat up a little bit, like after struggling to start the season. Even if they don't do anything this year, I still think this is like such a win for the Flyers franchise. It feels like they have a direction for the first time in 5 or 6 years. And, those games are just going to be so electric. I cannot wait. What do you guys think?
Yeah. Uh, I definitely think I like a lot of what Philly has. You know, Trevor Zegras playing great. They got goaltending from Dan Vladar, who was I wanted Dan Vladar on the Golden Knights. It's like if you could get any backup in the NHL in the offseason, you'll get Dan Vladar. You could probably split him and Aiden Hill. Of course, that did not work out, but I think Dan Vladar has been a very solid option for Philadelphia. And I also like some of their young guys, Porter Martone. I was watching like one of his first games, like the game where he scored the overtime winner as his first goal. Is like they compared him to Corey Perry. It's like, oh baby, oh Corey Perry comparisons. Are we kidding? Oh man, but no, I'm excited for Philadelphia. Even if they don't go on a deep run, this is really exciting for that whole city. They finally have like this is feels like a really good time where like all four of their teams are like decent at worst. Like the 76ers are in the play-in, the Eagles are in Super Bowl talks every year. The Phillies are really good as well. And now the Flyers. The Flyers are in the playoffs for the first time in a while. And I think that's really good for that city. Um, hope if they win the cup, I hope those light poles are greased. That probably won't even stop the Philly fans, but I'm excited for that. You know, Philadelphia deserves a good hockey team.
It's kind of funny how their identity never really changed, right? Like the Flyers are always trying to be kind of that Broad Street bully, we're tough to play against kind of vibe, right? That's supposed to be the identity. And granted, they acquired players who don't really fit that mold. Like, I'm sorry, when I think of Trevor Zegras, I don't really think of grit. But the fact that they're kind of able to find a balance for every single player, the fact that Rick Tocchet has done such a good job at trying to find a role for every single player down that lineup. That's how you get great seasons out of guys like Travis Konechny, Travis Sanheim, Zegras, Owen Tippett, Jamie Drysdale looks good on the blue line. I have a buddy who's a big Flyers fan. He can't believe what Owen Tippett has done. Owen Tippett's look awesome. A guy like Rasmus Ristolainen who's kind of had a bounce back year on defense. Emil Andre, who's played most of the season on defense, he's young and up and coming. And of course, Matvei Michkov, who, while he might not be putting up superstar production level points yet, I think we're getting there, right? I think we could see the elite level of Matvei Michkov, and I think we could see him starting to build his game. Mind you, he is still, like 20 years old? What is he? He's very young, 21. it's going to take a minute for that type of player to develop. And I think he's doing it really, really nicely. And I think that Rick Tocchet is doing an excellent job coaching this team in the right direction. So even if it is just a first round exit, this is one of those seasons where you can look at it and be like, wow, this team kind of came out of nowhere. They're probably going to be in the playoff mix for a long time to come if things keep going in this direction.
Yeah, totally agree with you there, Ben. Um, Now we're gonna go. We're gonna make a trip up to Canada for a little bit, and then we're gonna bring ourselves back down to the northeastern United States. But we gotta talk about the Ottawa Senators, a team that also kind of came out of nowhere. They had like that mid-season lull where they didn't get a lot of goaltending. They missed Linus Ullmark. There were some allegations about Linus Ullmark made while he was away. I don't know if you caught up with that, any of you two, but I know Ian probably has. But not that those allegations were crazy. They turned out to not be true.
The team had to
But
make a statement.
yeah, that was so brutal. But I like seeing Ottawa in the playoffs. I kind of wish they would probably play like another Canadian team like Toronto last year, but Toronto's not good. So, I mean, but yeah, I like Ottawa. I think they could probably shock the Hurricanes, but that's if they have like peak Linus Ullmark. But
Yeah.
I could see Ottawa like giving the Hurricanes some trouble at the worst.
I think Brady Tkachuk is going to have like a hat trick every game.
Is that it? Is that it for the Senators?
No, that's not the full evaluation, but that's just looking at that playoff series. Yeah, yeah. The Brady Tkachuk's going to light us up. They're another team that's just like super fun to watch. Like they're super young, they're super fast, they can go. I think getting that experience last year against the Leafs, even if they got down 3-0, just being in those games is gonna mean a lot for them this time around. And like I would put them ahead of some other teams. Like if they end up getting matched up with Buffalo,
Ooh,
I feel
that's a
like
fun
that could be
series.
interesting because Buffalo's never been there.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, right.
that's a fun series. Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to seeing how they do. Hopefully they don't do too well because go Canes. But yeah, I think they have a lot of potential. Timmy Stutzla needs to step it up a little bit more, and they'll be set.
Just real quickly, Ian, I've been noticing how dark your setting has been getting, and now it just kind of looks like you're in an analog horror video on YouTube.
It's a
Looks like a
combination.
look,
Oh yeah, oh my god, it does.
looking
It's a
like Martin's gonna be a
combination
jump scare.
of the sun going down over here, and also the commercial started, so I don't have the bright white of the ice against my face anymore.
This is why we call it coast to coast. Someone's in the East Coast, and at least another person's in the West Coast. Today we have two people on the West Coast. But Ian, what are your thoughts on the Ottawa Senators heading into the playoffs? Not Ian, Ben.
There you go.
Come on, guys. No, I was just gonna say that's like a beautiful North Carolina sunset, and then here in Vegas, it feels like noon. um,
It's only 4:37 here, Ben. Come on.
That's kind of
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
out. There's some orange.
um, Ottawa's interesting, I think, because I think that they're a very underrated and good transition team. They have a lot of guys who move the puck north, right? You see it a lot with a guy like Jake Sanderson or Thomas Chabot or Jordan Spence, like especially a guy like Jordan Spence. Their whole goal on D is just get the puck going north. And then they have some great transition depth pieces like a guy like Michael Amadio or Nick Cousins. Like I think they could cause some damage here. I think that once they find out who they're playing against, they might try to copy that Florida Panthers style, right? Brady Tkachuk is a power forward. They have some guys who are gritty a little bit. I think Batherson is tough in the corners, right? Stutzla not as much. Stutzla's a great skill guy to complement that, but I think in transition and just getting pucks in deep and hunting them down. Dylan Cousins, another player who's very solid at it. Like I think that they could be a force to be reckoned with a little bit here. I know they haven't had the best season, right? Olmark had an issue. He was out for a while. There's been some goaltending concerns. There's been defense concerns. There's been times where the depth hasn't really been there. But I just think if they play the right way, if they're able to get pucks in deep and hunt them down and play that Panthers 2-1-2 forecheck style, I think they could be sneaky good. I'm not going to sit here and say they're going to take out the Hurricanes, but depending on the seeding, like we could see them in the second or third round. I'm serious. Like I'm kind of high on that team right now.
Yeah, I still think Carolina matches up with Ottawa pretty well, but I would be shocked if that series went 6 games. And
Yeah.
I think that series could go 6 games in a hypothetical series to Carolina. Buffalo, I think that goes 7 if they match up with Ottawa, but who knows? But the playoffs are looking exciting. Now we're moving on to what many people consider the hockey mecca of the world, Montreal, where we touched on this earlier when we previewed the Tampa Bay Montreal series. I feel like I like everything about Montreal except the goaltending. Even then, I don't say I don't hate the goaltending. It's just when you're going up against Andre Vasilevsky, what are you gonna do? Like, but I feel like Montreal could outscore Tampa Bay in some games, which this is why I had Tampa Bay in 7. But I feel like Montreal, I think is a good. They're good. They're gonna be pretty good. I think next year and years to come. But I think you just need some goaltending if you're Montreal.
I also personally think their depth is a little shallow, right? Like they have some incredible, incredible young studs. Lane Hudson is awesome to watch. He's a superstar at this point. Cole Caulfield, 50 goals, just unbelievable American star. Nick Suzuki, I'm still so mad that Vegas ended up trading him because he's been MVP level this season. Uri Slavkovsky's been fun to watch. Ivan Demidov, like they are an awesome team to watch, and they have some good depth players, right? Oliver Kapanen's look good. Alexander Carrier's look good. But I think down their lineup, once you kind of get to the nitty gritty of it, I don't know if they're fully built for playoff time. Alexander Texier, he's been okay. A guy like Brendan Gallagher is no longer a regular in the lineup. You want a little more out of Josh Anderson personally. Kirby Doc, very injured throughout the course of the season, like usual. He hasn't really stepped up. There's been some concerns where you look at it and you're like, I don't know if this team is as hyped as they should be, right? Because they have the superstar level talent. They have the 6 or 7 young guys who can take over a game and kind of propel the team into the playoffs and make them look really good. I'm just not too sold on their depth. I'm not too sold that when you put the fourth line over the boards, that they're going to be able to go against a team like Tampa.
I do think that's a solid counter argument, but I just think guys like Cole Caulfield have been so clutch. I just feel like I feel like Montreal could like outscore their way in some games. It's not going to get you deep in the playoffs though. That's why I think Tampa Bay will win in 7. They'll give Tampa Bay like a decent scare, but after that, you don't have to worry about the Canadians after the next round. You either have to deal with Buffalo or Boston.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I mean, you guys hit on it. It's they just need a little bit more. I think they need another guy. Like if they can find a way to maybe dangle like Reinbacker to get like a top 6 forward to like really solidify them, they might be set. But I don't think Suzuki and Caulfield can do it like completely by themselves like they did back in 2021. They're gonna need more backup, and they're gonna get 4 lines of Tampa. So
Yeah,
You know
Tampa's
what
loaded.
Montreal, would kill for right now? Like if I was a Habs fan, I would kill to have that Florida Panthers fourth line or that Golden Knights
mm,
2022-23 fourth line. I would kill to just have a good, solid north-south checking line because I think that's what really comes down to it in the playoffs, right? Like you can have all the skill, you can have all this fancy east-west passing. When the games are tighter, when the gaps just close up a little bit more, it's so much tougher to make those east-west creative passes, and I think that might actually end up being Montreal's downfall. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Montreal goes on a little bit of a run. I hope they prove people wrong. I hope they look awesome. But I would kill for a William Carrier or a Keegan Colasar on this
Oh
roster.
man, you're making me nostalgic, Ben. Holy, could you imagine Nicholas Waugh Montreal Canadiens jersey? That would sell like hotcakes. And he's not even a top he's not even a top player in the NHL. That would sell like hotcakes to the French Canadians up there, eh? All
Yeah.
right, now we're gonna swing back to the United States and talk about the big bad beast, the Boston Bruins. I'll be honest, I'm excited they're back. They kind of have a little bit of a retool, a little bit of an up year for them. And Pasternak's still going crazy. You have guys like Morgan Geekie, who kind of fell off later in the season, but he's back to he scored a hat trick on the Hurricanes for crying out loud. But yeah, I'm excited to see
but man,
Boston back in the playoffs. They might be honestly, they might be a first round elimination, but I like Boston. I don't think of all like the Boston teams I hate Boston the Bruins the less. Bruins the
see,
less.
you're better than me. I hate the Bruins. They can die. That's fine. I hope I hope they just get absolutely fed to Buffalo, or us maybe. But I know they're a pretty good mix of youth, as well as some vets in the lineup. David Pastrnak's obviously awesome. It's crazy seeing Morgan Geeky become an NHL sniper. That's not something I would ever expect. Watching him go through the Kane system. Um, but yeah, I think it's just not their year. They're still kind of in this weird little retool, late rebuild phase, and I think it's just too early. I can't see them winning a series.
Yeah, so I lived in Boston last year and I watched a lot of Bruins games. And last season was one of the more disappointing, upsetting seasons the Bruins have had in decades. And it was always fun, listening to the post game radio show and listening to all these angry New Englanders call in and yell, Sweeney and Neely need to go. They need to go. It's always fun listening to people from New England lose their mind, as much as I loved my time there. Um, I'm kind of right there with you when you just say it's not really their time right now. I think they have a solid team. Pasternak, McAvoy, Geeky, Zaka, like these are good players, right? And I think Mason Lohrei, I've been high on Mason Lohrei for years. He came to a Golden Knights prospect camp in 2019. He
Did he
ended up going
really?
to yeah,
I didn't
and
know
and
that.
he ended up playing for Boston. And last year, I was doing like kind of my own armchair GM for the Golden Knights, and I said that we should trade Nick Hague as an RFA for Mason Lohrei, who is another RFA. Lohrei's ended up having a really good season with the Bruins this year, so another point for me. Hire me, Mr. Foley. Just kidding. Uh, they've gotten okay seasons out of some bad contracts like Nikita Zadorov and Elias Lindholm. Marat Husnudinov has been a nice find. I think it's just been a season of nice finds for the Bruins, right? Fraser Minton, Marat Husnudinov, which I just mentioned. Henry Yoki Haru has been pretty solid when he's been in there. Mikey Isamont, he's okay. Like it's just been a season of good enough, and maybe they'll end up shocking the world somehow. But I just don't really see it happening this year for the Bruins.
The Bruins, by the way, currently up 4-0 on the Devils at the end of the
Ooh,
first period.
It's a big shock.
Which so I
yeah.
mean, so it looks like they might keep their wild card one spot. If that continues.
All right. Last team in the Eastern Conference, Ben. Why don't you lead us in? Who is that? Who's that team?
The Buffalo Sabres. Oh, dude, this is crazy. First of all,
Ooh.
shout out Alex Tuck because I have always been a huge Alex Tuck guy. When the Golden Knights pulled the trigger to get Jack Eichel, I remember sitting there thinking, "Holy crap, we just got Jack Eichel, but why would we trade Alex Tuck?" Like I love Alex Tuck, and I'm so glad that he's back in the Stanley Cup playoffs, even if I'm not the biggest fan of the Sabres themselves. Um, what a year! What a freaking year for the Buffalo Sabres, man. Like they have been so fun to watch. They've been so entertaining. And even me, I'm not the biggest Sabres fan. I think that a lot of their fans treated Jack Eichel like garbage on his way out. I
Yeah,
think that they've kind of harassed the Golden Knights a little too much at different times. Even me, I'm stoked. Like it's tough not to look at their fans and see them celebrating, walking out of KeyBank Center and all hyped up and not kind of get a little choked up thinking about like, man, those fans have probably waited for years and years. Like if you're 21 years old, last time they made the playoffs to now, you went through like middle school, high school, college, your first girlfriend, your first kiss, first beer, everything without even seeing a Sabres playoff game, man. So dude, it's been a fun ride for the Buffalo Sabres. They have some incredible players. It, like Rasmus Dahlin, unbelievable. Tage Thompson, TNT, American hero. He's been incredible. Alex Tuck, Matthias Samuelson, one of the better defensive defensemen in the league. The trade with Utah for JJ Paterka to get Josh Doan has paid off for both teams. I think Josh Doan's been awesome. They've gotten solid goaltending. They're just a well-oiled machine right now.
completely agree. I mean, and it's you cannot be more happy for a fan base. Like the Hurricanes went through their little 9-year drought, and that was pretty miserable. But I can't even imagine what did it get to 14, 15 years now without a single playoff appearance. No one deserves it more than the Buffalo fans. I'm also a Bills fan, so like I'm kind of partial to the city a little bit. I have family from around there, and God, it's just great seeing them relevant again in general. Um, but yeah, like you said, man, Tage Thompson is probably one of my favorite players to watch. I'd say he's probably my favorite non-Canes player, and being able to finally see those bombs in the playoffs is going to be unreal. Um, as long as they win a round, I don't really think it matters either. Like I think people are going to be happy with it no matter what, even if they get bounced in the second round. They just
I don't think
need
they
their
care if
young
they get
guys to
bounced in the
step up.
first. It's just like it's been that long
Yeah,
for.
honestly, like at least you made it.
Yeah, it's pretty disappointing
And
And
as
it's
a
so cool.
division winner to go out in the first round. But yeah, continue, Ian. Sorry for interrupting you.
oh no, you're good. And then I was just gonna mention Ryan McLeod. Shout out, 54 points in 81 games out of absolutely fucking nowhere. I love it. I love that team.
Jason Zucker, Vegas local, grew up in
Vegas
Vegas. Always
local.
happy to
Yeah.
see him do
He's having a
good.
hell of a season.
Yeah, they've gotten the goaltending too. Like
Josh Doan.
Alex
Josh Doan.
Lyon,
What
50
a
point Josh
guy.
Jones.
What a
Josh
guy,
Doan.
Josh Doan. Baller.
He's
That's a
awesome.
baller
He's
right
a
there.
good two-way player. And they've gotten the goalies, right? Alex Lyon, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, Colton Ellis. Those three guys have above a 904, all three of them. And in a year where save percentage around the league is on average under 900, that's huge. They've gotten the good goaltending. They've gotten the awesome defensive performances out of guys like Dahlin and Samuelson. They're a well-oiled machine, and I think maybe it's tough to not try to overrate them, but they did win the Atlantic Division in the same division where the Tampa Bay Lightning are. Like this is a good hockey club, and now it's
Yeah.
just let's see how they do in the playoffs.
Can't fluke your way into that.
I I know a lot of Buffalo Sabres fans, and of course, as a Knights fan, I've clashed with multiple on Twitter over Jack Eichel. However, just see Buffalo in the playoffs, just see, people that I've grown up with happy that the hockey team has finally like done something to break out of that, oh, they're never going to make the playoffs. It's just nice. And honestly, I do just kind of feel like they have an outside shot of maybe winning the Stanley Cup. I still think it's Carolina's year to win the cup. However, if they don't win it, I'm rooting hard for Buffalo. Imagine a Buffalo Minnesota Stanley Cup final. I think that would be electric. That would be insane. Speaking of the Stanley Cup final, I think it's time to wrap up the show, but not yet. We got to make some picks here, okay? So we already made our picks for a few of the first round series, and we kind of gave our thoughts on potential contenders for the cup. But it's now time to get into the nitty gritty. Me and Ian did a little bit of a preview around the trade deadline, but now it's the playoffs, and we have the field is set, not the bracket, but the field is set with the teams that are in the Stanley Cup playoffs right now. Of the 16 teams, who is your Eastern Conference representative, your Western Conference representative, and most importantly, give me a Stanley Cup champion and a Conn Smythe winner.
Ooh, okay. I can go first on this one. From the Eastern Conference, I will pick, of course, the Carolina Hurricanes. I think they're gonna run the gauntlet. They'll squeak by whoever they have to face in the conference final. From the Western Conference, I might I might have to go Dallas on this one. I know they have their flaws, but the more I think about the Avalanche in the second round and how they're kind of owned by the Stars in recent playoff memory, I'll go Stars Hurricanes for the finals with the Dallas Stars winning and Mikko Rantanen getting the Conn
No,
Smythe against the
Oh,
Hurricanes. It's gonna
as
happen.
a why are you as a
It's the most
Canes fan
Hurricanes
saying
thing
that? Once
because
Sailor hears this,
I'm
once Sailor
anticipating it,
hears this,
dude.
he's gonna send you like horrible like messages on Twitter and shit.
My
He's
alternate
gonna
answer
block
would
you.
be my
dude,
He's
alternate
gonna
answer would
block
be
you.
Abs with a Martin Natchez Conn Smythe.
I
But
could
dude,
one,
that's
stomach that.
mental either way. That is
I could
mental.
stomach that better. I could stomach that better. I don't want to see the Dallas Stars win the cup. I could stomach
no,
the Avalanche better.
It's like me
All right.
saying the Habs are going to beat Montreal and Suzuki's going to win Conn Smythe. Like, come on. I can't. I no. Screw that.
You can't have it. So who's your pick?
Me? Um. Oh, it's so tough, man. Like, you don't need me to say it, but it's so tough to pick a freaking winner because it's just this is one of those years where it could literally be anybody's game. From the West, I'm gonna say Vegas, and I know it's bias. I get it's bias, right? It doesn't make sense. It's not logical to look at the teams on the paper and say that the Golden Knights are going to make the Stanley Cup final. But I do believe because of the coaching change, because the hot goalie, because of the way that they've been winning these games. A lot of people on the internet, they kind of look at it and they're just like, oh, well, the Golden Knights are kind of bum slaying these teams. They're beating Vancouver. They're beating Calgary. They're getting points at really bad teams low in the NHL. If you watch the games, if you sit down and you've watched every Golden Knights game this season, as I have, there's a fundamental shift in how the team is played. They're going north. They're going east west a little less. They're focusing on north south. They're focusing on deactivation. They're playing a very simple style of game. They're making sure they're covering their guys better. Like when the D goes down low in the offensive zone, there's always a winger dropping back. We didn't see that all season. That's how we saw so many odd man rushes against the Golden Knights. It feels more structured. It feels like they have their swagger. That's a word that the Golden Knights have thrown around endlessly in the last 2 weeks. Just swagger, swagger this, swagger that. They do have some swagger to their game right now. I think if Carter Hart gets hot, I can see them making a run to the Stanley Cup final. As crazy as it is, right? There's going to be some upsets along the way. I'm not saying LA is going to beat Colorado or anything like that, but there's going to be some upsets that are going to put the Golden Knights in better positions, right? If the Golden Knights could play LA in round one and then play Anaheim in round two and then play Minnesota round three, bang, there you are. There's your Western Conference championship and your berth in the Stanley Cup final. It's a little wishy-washy on my end, but things happen, right? There's a reason why the Bruins lost in round one in 2023. If Carter Verhaeghe doesn't score that game 7 overtime goal, maybe there is no 2023 Stanley Cup champion Vegas Golden Knights. Maybe it's Boston who goes all the way. We don't know what ends up happening. So I'm going to say Vegas for my Western pick. Out of the East, it's tough to say anybody but Carolina or Tampa. And it's kind of a coin flip between those two teams because I think that they're both very well built. I think that they play a style that's hard to beat. It kind of just depends how hot Freddie Anderson / Brandon Bussey gets, right? Because I think that Andre Vasilevsky is going to be automatic. He's had a good season. He has a 911 save percentage this season. I kind of look at it and I'm like, if Carolina could get the goaltending, I'm picking Carolina. But if they can't get the goaltending, and if Bussy isn't himself, or if Anderson kind of regresses a little bit in the playoffs, I'm probably going to go Tampa. So it's kind of a coin flip on that. I'll say Carolina right now just because I have a very good feeling about their depth. And I'm going to say Vegas in 6 over Carolina. Super wishy-washy. I know. I apologize. And
Goalie
I'm
by
going to,
Carter Hart. Oh
yeah,
my.
I'm
Crazy.
going to say I mean, you never know too. Like Hart might have a bad first few games of the playoffs, and then they go to Aiden Hill, and bam, that magic is right back there. You know, you never know. Um, so I'm going to say my Conn Smythe winner. I'm going to go Jack Eichel, and I'm going to say second in Conn Smythe voting is going to be Carter Hart because it would be so crazy for this guy to come in out of nowhere, sign a 2x2. Everybody hates it. Everybody hates the situation. He doesn't look like himself. He gets injured terribly, comes back, has a good stretch down the season, and then wins the freaking Conn Smythe. And if you've watched the last 5 or so Vegas games that Hart's played, he's been good. It
Oh, he's
hasn't
been
been
fantastic.
getting the saves. It's been his positioning. It's been his goalie IQ to put himself in the right position and make a good save. Like watching Carter Hart fundamentally, like just from a goalie perspective, is so fun because he just does a lot of the little things right. And with that, yeah, Eichel's going to win the Conn Smythe. We're going to route Carolina. I'm so sorry, but not really. And again, it's super wishy-washy. Like if I sat myself down and gave myself a couple smacks and dunked my face in a bowl of water like Ashton Hall, I probably wouldn't say the Golden Knights. But I just there's a swag. You know, it's so cringe, and I know people who are super fans of the team, maybe a little more pessimistic, they don't like that they're just throwing out the word swag, but there is a swag to this team, and that's what you need to win a Stanley Cup. You need a swagger.
I can
My
respect it.
oh, go ahead, go in, go ahead, Ian.
Oh no, that's all. I was just saying I can respect it. I see where he's coming from.
Yeah. All right. So I alluded earlier that Carolina was going to be my Stanley Cup pick, and I'm still going to stand by it. However, I think I said Colorado and Carolina in my previous
I think
prediction. I
that's
think I'm
right.
going to change. I think I'm going to change that. I'm going to change that to, I don't know. I just have a good feeling about the Minnesota Wild for some reason. I have a good feeling about the Minnesota Wild. Minnesota Wild, Carolina Hurricanes. I think Minnesota Wild can outscore Carolina in some games, but I feel like Carolina could win this game in about 6 or 7, or win the series in about 6 or 7 games, and I think Carolina is going to be your Stanley Cup champion. I feel really good about Carolina. I feel really good about Minnesota. I still feel really good about Vegas. I think Vegas might make like I think if you're Vegas like halfway through the season, you think you go to the Western Conference Finals with the season you had. I think that's I could take that. I could swallow that as a Vegas fan, making it to the Western Conference Finals with the season we had, and then going to the Stanley Cup Final, Carolina in six. I would honestly give me a guy like Seth Jarvis to win the Conn Smythe. I think Seth Jarvis is an absolute baller in terms of, hockey. Like he can score. He's got some speed. He's a guy you want in a leading top six role for Carolina. And I think Carolina is going to do it a very untraditional way. Carolina doesn't have like the flashy superstar like your Minnesotas or your Vegases or your Dallases or your Colorados or your Buffaloes or your Pittsburghs. Like they have a solid group of guys, and Seth Jarvis is the closest thing that they have to like a true superstar. And I just feel like it's Carolina's year. That's all I'm trying to say. Minnesota, first Stanley Cup final as a franchise, not as a state. You had some with the North Stars, but I don't know. I just feel really confident about Minnesota. I feel really confident about Carolina. I still feel confident about Vegas. It wouldn't shock me if Vegas won the cup because it's kind of you never know what's going to happen in the playoffs, to be honest with you. But I just feel confident about Vegas, not Vegas, Carolina and Minnesota. That's all I'll say. Carolina in six. Give me a Conn Smythe of Seth Jarvis, and I'll say a second Conn Smythe, Kirill Kaprizov. I feel like Kirill Kaprizov is going to go. Actually, no, let's trash that. Matt Boldy. Matt Boldy. Give me Matt Boldy to go nuclear
Ooh,
these
respect.
playoffs. Goal scorer for Team USA in the gold medal game, and he's going to go nuclear these playoffs, and I'm excited.
If I could throw out one more like underdog prediction, like I know I just made my official prediction, even though like again it changes every other minute. If I like could pick two underdogs from each conference just real quickly, I'd probably go Utah and I'd probably go Montreal. Like I know that's a hot take, but dude, a Utah Montreal final would be crazy. And at that rate, dude, the Conn Smythe is going to go to Dylan Gunther, and Utah is going to win it in seven, and it's going to be insane,
You got the
and the world's
you
going to
got the
explode.
French Canadians versus the Mormons, eh? Holy, what a final!
Wow.
What a
Imagine those
final!
Twitter battles.
Yeah, Utah's awesome though, dude. Like I can't wait for NHL playoff hockey in the Delta Center. It's so loud in that building;
You
it's
gonna
going
go
to be
to a game?
shaking. If I can pull some money out, so yeah, like somebody, please donate to my playoff
I'm
ticket
starting to
fund.
GoFundMe.
Starting to go fund me for Ben
Yeah,
Bolin to
yeah,
go to all these playoff games, and me too. Drag me along
yeah,
too to a
yeah.
couple Vegas games, eh?
Even if it's just like the one goal view at Delta Center, like I don't care. I just want
How
to
is
go.
that view? How that like that's such a weird concept, but like if it gets you to a game, it gets you to a game. It's just I don't know if it's just me being the way I am, but I can't watch a hockey game in person without seeing both goals. I don't know.
No,
Especially
it sucks for
it's a little
sure.
stress inducing, yeah.
Yeah, it sucks, but what they do is if you do buy a ticket for one goal view, you get I think it's only in one part of the arena, but you get like a free hot dog and a free soda. So like they make up for it, they make up for the cruddy view and they got like the big jumbotron, like whenever the puck just kind of goes back into your zone where you can't see, you just look up. It's kind of comical. But obviously it's a fine arena. It's just not built for hockey. And from what I've heard, Ryan Smith is really emphasizing that he wants to just renovate the heck out of Delta Center and kind of rebuild it. So it doesn't sound like they're going to get a new arena anytime soon, but rather just really upgrade Delta Center to where it's okay for hockey.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, like I touched at the beginning of the episode, playoffs are here. Buckle up, get ready, because it's going to be a wild ride. I feel like this has the potential to be one of the best playoffs in recent memory, just because I think, like Brendan said earlier, the field is so wide open that I honestly, any team can honestly win it if they get hot enough. And I feel like all these teams have the potential to get hot. And I'm just excited for some good old fashioned hockey, you know. But that is going to wrap it up for the Coast to Coast playoff preview mega show. That's what I called it. Ian's still over there looking like an analog. Oh, jump
Oh,
scare,
I'm back now. I'm
jump
back
scare!
now.
Holy,
They paid back for
I
the
gotta,
ice.
I gotta go catch a Henderson Silver Knights game. I think
Oh,
Ben
nice.
does too. I think Ben told me he was going tonight too.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Henderson Silver Knights in the playoffs. I'm going to try to go to a playoff game for them too. Hopefully, tickets aren't that expensive. I'm also planning on maybe buying a jersey there at the Henderson Silver Knights game, but we'll see how the funds look. But other than that, thank you guys for tuning in, and hope you guys enjoy the playoff hockey. And we'll keep you guys updated throughout the entire playoffs. You know, follow us on Instagram. I just made the Instagram account. It's Ian will put it somewhere in the video if you're watching it or listening it. Let me just get the at real quick. The at is
So,
the at is Coast to Coast PDCST. Again, that is Coast to Coast PDCST. We want to thank you guys for joining in on this special playoff preview episode. And one last thing for you guys. Any any underdog players you're watching these playoffs before we head out?
Underdog players? Hmm.
Okay, do you mind if I go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Give me Mitch Marner.
yeah.
I know he's not really like an underdog in traditional, but I think Mitch Marner has a really opportunity to kind of prove that he's not really a playoff ghost. I mean, he's around a bunch of guys who have been to the Stanley Cup final and won the Stanley Cup too. But I feel like Mitch Marner kind of fits that bill as an underdog playoff player that I'm looking to watch.
Yeah, similar. Oh, you know what? I do have one actually. And I wouldn't really consider this guy an underdog. He missed it last year. Artemi Panarin on the Kings. I think it's going to be interesting to see what he can do in the playoffs. He usually has pretty good numbers, but not the greatest. I think with this opportunity with LA, he playing more minutes, he might be able to shine a little bit more, and we might see him in that first round go off completely. He's looked great so far in the black and silver.
Yeah, I have two because I can't boil it down to one. I I'm so interested to see Pavel Dorofeyev this season in the playoffs. Last
Yeah.
season, in the postseason, he struggled. But this year, he hit a new career high in points and goals. He's 25 years old. He's kind of coming into his own as a superstar in the league. He looks awesome. Let's see what he can do when the games matter most, right? That was kind of the fan base's gripe with him last year is he had that incredible season, but come playoff time, he had 2 points in 8 games. So a little bit of an underwhelming playoffs. He also played with an injury for some of it. So I'm really excited to see what Pavel Dorofeyev can do. And from Utah, I have to say Dylan Gunther. Dylan Gunther is so fun to watch. Go back and watch any bit of Dylan Gunther highlights. He has the quickest release. He's got like a Bedard level release, but McDavid-ish speed. Like he's so fun to watch. He's so good. And it's kind of funny because if you put Pavel Dorofeyev and Dylan Gunther's career together and you look at their careers, very, very similar. Dorofeyev has one more career goal than him in like 5 more games. Gunther has way more assists than Dorofeyev, but they're very similar players. So I'm going to go with two snipers and two very good players who I think need to have big playoffs if they want their teams to succeed.
I think, yeah, I'm just excited for the playoffs to start. I'm kind of giddy with excitement with all the playoffs. It's at that time of year, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, Stanley Cup. There's nothing better than sports than the absolute rush from mid-April to mid-June. There's nothing quite like it in terms of
Best.
especially hockey. Yeah,
This is
but
what you
like I
live for.
said, exactly, it's what you live for. But once again, thank you guys for tuning into the Coast to Coast podcast, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Yeah.
Take care. Go Knights.